welcome to the Avid Knits podcast. My name is Sarah, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry both as Avid Knits. Today is September 20th, and it is really hot in Houston today. I think that the temperature is like 94, and I think we have one of the real feel. It's like we're in the triple digits. Normally, I think the real feel, I watched a skit a long time ago, and I think it's Bill Engvall, and he says that the real feel is like what it would feel like if you were standing naked in a snowstorm. And maybe that's true. But if you stand outside fully clothed in Houston humidity today, it feels like 106. It's great. So, I don't know, I kind of want to snub my nose at the real feel, but then at the end of the day, I live in Texas, and no, it really does feel like that. I hope it is cooler wherever you are, no matter which hemisphere you're in. I hope that you're not in the triple digits today. And yeah, so, that's it. That's what I've got. Hi, it's been a couple of weeks. I hope everything has been good for you. Thank you for your kind words and understanding about my last podcast. I was terribly upset when I recorded. And I have to admit, I watched it back after when I was editing, and I was like, oh, well, okay. There was no putting on a happy face for me that day. And I appreciate all of you who stuck around for it. I'm not going to say things have lightened up any necessarily. We did have a news story that that Pfizer is claiming that their vaccine is going to be safe for 5 to 11-year-olds. They're hoping to have rollout for vaccines by Halloween, which is wonderful. It's wonderful. So, yeah, I hope that, I don't know, I hope that life has been calm in your sphere. I don't really have a ton to talk about today, I guess. I just had to go to the tax office to pay taxes on my truck today and had to get semi-presentable for it. So I figured that while my hair was done and I had some semblance of eyeliner on, I should get on camera because this doesn't happen very often. We homeschool. It's usually just thrown up in a messy ponytail, and then clothes are kind of whatever I felt like wearing that day. So since we actually wore clothing today, and we actually, we tried. I didn't try very hard. Okay, I just tried it last night after the shower. Yeah, so since we did all of that, I figured that I owed you guys a podcast. Thought I'd come on and say hi. So, I have no work. I have no finished job. That's a lie. That's a lie. I have one finished object. And to be honest, to be honest, when I podcast last time, I think I was halfway up the foot on one of these guys. So I have a pair of socks. These are the Rose City Rollers, which is my standard sock. They are knit out of Nomadic yarns so this is the New Year colorway. I believe this is her, I don't know, twisty base maybe? Trusty base? I don't know. One of them is higher twist than the other. The twisty base is a higher twist than the trusty base. That's really the only difference. But the colors are gorgeous. They're a very fun pair of socks. My standard recipe for anybody who cares, not that you should because it's probably not your recipe, but whatever, is 60 stitches on a size 0. I knit between 5 and 7 rows, and then I start my heel flap. I use a short heel flap. You can find it in the Easy Peasy Vanilla Socks by Mina Phillip from the Knitting Expat. But basically what a short heel flap is that typically if you knit magic loop, this is how I always remember heel flaps. If you knit magic loop, I knit 60, so I would have 30 stitches on this needle. When I knit my heel flap, which is just the slip stitch heel flap, most patterns of heel flaps will tell you to go equidistant almost, so 30 stitches and then 30 rows. I don't do that. I divide this by 2, so if I have 72 stitches, then or not 72 stitches, I'm sorry. If I have 36 stitches on the back needle, I do 18 rows. If I have 30 stitches on the back needle, I do 15 rows. And then I do my little heel thingy, my little heel pocket, whatever. And then I flip over and I pick up for my gusset. And that's what I do because I wear shorties specifically. Like that's all I wear is shorties. So if you're knitting a full size sock with a long leg, maybe that deeper heel is something that you need. You'd have to ask somebody who wears socks like that. I don't. But for shorties, especially the Rose City Rollers, I find that there is no need to have a deeper heel flap than this for my foot. Your mileage may vary. So I am a relatively loose knitter, so 60 stitches on zeros is, and it's still not bulletproof. If you look at my stitches, you can see like they have quite a bit of give. But I refuse to go down to double zeros. It's not going to happen. I will learn how to knit English before I do that. So I am a continental knitter. Apparently we tend to knit a little bit looser anyway, and I knit specifically, I knit solely on metal needles. My preferred needles are the ChiaoGoo mini twists. ChiaoGoo everything, let's be real. But the mini twists I find I really, really enjoy for socks because the cable is super floopy. I like flexi cables. Finished object. And that's it. That's what I got. Y'all will notice that I have a new co-host. This is the Yoke to a Criterion sweater by Wool and Pine Designs. It is knit in gorgeous Julie of the Sweet Sparrow Yarns and Sweet Sparrow Knits podcast. It is knit in her Espresso and her Rose Caramel colorways. Both of them are on tweed. And I'm going to rip this out. I'm going to rip it out. It was originally intended to be, I don't even know what I originally intended this yarn for. I just really like the color combination. I knit, I don't know, like the first repeat of a pink velvet, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the way the tweed played in it. That's fine. Rip that out. I knit the entire yoke of a Criterion, and I'm going to rip it out, and here's why. As I have mentioned, I am a relatively loose knitter. I am also a very avid sweater knitter. Anybody who's watched my podcast for a while will tell you that. I did 20, I know I made a video for 20 sweaters in 2020. Right, 2020? Anyway, I have knit probably upward of 50 sweaters in my time. I've been knitting since like 2015. My time makes it sound like I've been doing this for like 100 years. I haven't been. I've been knitting for a relatively short amount of time. In that time, though, my gauge has changed a lot. And I think everybody's does as you get used to what you're making and figure out how you like to make it and what tools you want to use. Unfortunately, my preferred style and my preferred tools mean that I have a very loose gauge, which is fine, There is actually really, now that I'm looking at it, nothing wrong with this yoke. I'm still gonna rip it out. And here's why, mainly. If you look, I'm trying to find one that's doing it in an obvious form. Here we go. If you look at my sections of my chart that have these bands right here, you can see that my pink line, I'm not even pointing at the pink, I'm sure. You can see that my pink lines are stretched a little, and then my brown lines, I know that the stitches are very hard to see, but they are actually rounded. So I actually have some puckering going on here, and this has been blocked. Now, it's not so noticeable that I would rip out a whole yoke for that, but I definitely would take note of it and say, okay, for my next yoke, I'm going to change my color dominance. So we're about to get into some tangents. For those of you who have not knit stranded color work, or have and are having problems, here's something that they tell you. When you're knitting stranded color work, you have two yarns. You can hold them both in one hand, you can hold them in two hands, you can hold them in one hand. I hold them in my left hand because I'm a continental knitter, so that means I have my main color and my contrast color. My contrast color comes from the bottom because that means that the yarn is supposed to have to travel farther from this portion of your finger onto the needle, which means that your stitch is slightly bigger than the other one, which lets your contrast color pop. That's the rule of thumb. And for me, that has worked. up until now. And I don't know if it's because it has the tweed. I don't know if the neps just stop it from sliding all the way through like it normally would if they kind of get caught on the stitches, and so your gauge has to be a little bit different, or your has to be a little bit less, there's less flex, you know what I mean? I think that the neps kind of mean that where you put that stitch is a little bit closer to where it's going to stay no matter what. For this yoke, and I tried it on the bottom down here, and it seems to have resolved a little bit of my problems, but not all of it. For this yoke, what I would have done with tweed yarn is I should have, instead of having my main color and my contrast color, I should have had my contrast color and then my main color, because the yarn coming off the top of my finger is not tensioned as tightly. So I'm a little backward, and I don't know if that's all continental knitters find this to be the case or if it's just me. But I find that the yarn, because I don't tension my yarn very hard. So if I'm knitting, we're knitting like this. So I tension between my ring finger and my pinky finger, and I tension over my pointer finger. This is how I learned to crochet. This is how I hold my yarn in order to knit. So when I'm knitting off of this, I don't have a lot of anything holding tension. Like, that's all that's happening. So I think that that means that when my yarn is on the tip of my finger, there's a lot less for it. And when it's on the inside of my finger, it tends to get caught right here along the grooves of your finger, the pads of your fingers or whatever right there. And that creates just enough grip that my stitches are slightly tighter. So what I should have done, and what I might do going forward, is just swap where my colors go. Because that rule of thumb, that adage of a contrast color coming from the bottom, is not working for me anymore as my gauge is changing. 2, another reason that I'm going to rip this out. The Criterion uses a technique for catching floats that I have never used and should have swatched first to see how I felt about it probably. But I mean, you know, it only happened for like the last 10 rows, and so I didn't feel any. I figured that I would just rip it out if I didn't like it. And it's this. So instead of catching the strand behind your stitches, because the floats are so long, oh my god, let me restart that. Whenever you catch your contrast yarn behind your main stitches in a pattern, like let's say these are your stitches and you are knitting and you carry along behind, well, what you'll do is you'll kind of slide it like this, right? But it doesn't come into the front of the work. You can't see it, right? That's just kind of how it looks whenever you're tensioning your yarn across the back. There are great videos for catching your floats. I will link to one below to show you exactly how I do it. I don't have a video for that. I don't have camera set up for this. Most of you who have knit color work know what I'm talking about. When you do that, especially if you are in a place that has long color floats right here. So I like to catch my floats roughly every 5 to 6 stitches. That's just a comfortable number for me. It allows me to stretch my stitches out on the other needle. It allows me to make sure I have enough floats, space my floats, whatever ease, you know what I mean, right? What you'll notice is that on the back, it looks really nice. Like, it looks like that's what it's supposed to do. But on the front, my stitches they're kind of puckering. Like, there's kind of a ruffle here. And I could keep going and separate for sleeves and put on 1 inch and see if that helped kind of bring everything down. But to be absolutely honest, I actually don't. Like, you can see it right here. Like, you can see it really badly right there where it ruffles. And like along here and they ruffle. And I just don't feel like that's going to be enough, having blocked it and everything. I think that the way that you catch the floats is actually not great for my tension. So anyway, I'm sorry. What I was saying is that when you have really long floats like this, if you generally tend to catch your yarn every 5 or 6 stitches, you will eventually, over this, you will catch your yarn in the exact same place, multiple rows up, and then you'll be able to see the ladder in the back. And that's just a way that the fabric works. So if you have long floats for more than a couple of rows, what you should do is you should catch your floats on the 5th stitch every 5 stitches. And then on the next one, you should catch it every 6 stitches. Just offset it by 1 or by 2, something like that. Catch them in different places so that you don't create that laddering effect. In order to not create that laddering effect, another thing that you can use is this technique, which is really great. And basically, you cast on when you're knitting, okay? You basically do a yarn over on one row in your main color. When you come back on the next row, in that yarn over with your contrast color, you purl through the back loop. And then you have you don't have a way, you need to be careful about how you put your strands of yarn back over there so that your main color, in this case the brown, will kind of block that thing that you made. It'll just look like part of the fabric. And what that does is it creates this whole other world that's going on the back, and you just create these little like knit stitches almost. There's little, yeah, they look like knit stitches, this little knit stitch column up the back. And that's so stinking smart. It's awesome. It does not work in this yarn. I'm sure it's just a yarn texture thing. And like I said, with the neps, I'm sure that's a lot of the problem. Another part of the problem is I've never done it before. So it didn't work for me, basically, is what I'm trying to say. All of that to tell you that this did not work for me. More power to you if it works for you. I will try it again on another garment, maybe in something in non-superwash, which I'm hoping to start knitting a lot more with here as the year goes on, just because I think my tastes have changed kind of into that direction. I'm hoping to alternate. I'm just hoping to what's the word? Incorporate. There we go. I'm just hoping to incorporate more non-superwash yarns into my wardrobe. So this is going to get frogged, which is fine. But it also makes the second time I frogged this yarn out of a yoke. I don't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know what it wants to be. I thought it wanted to be this, but I don't think it does. And I think that I might give up on the color work. And I might just knit a plain sweater out of the brown. I have a lot of the brown. And I was thinking something really simple like a nutkin, or there's a really pretty cabled sweater in Lane magazine for fingering weight called the Airy, and I might knit that. I don't know what this wants to be. So it's in timeout until it can figure it out for me, because it needs to let me know. So yeah, there's that. So I determined that probably last week. And since then, I have knit a sock and a half. I have not cast on a new sock, which is odd for me. Have I? No, I don't even have yarn. I don't even have yarn in my sock bag. Who am I? And I have yarn. If you look here, this is Nomadic. This is a color I want to work with. I have some Golden Hour and some Woodland up there that I want to work with. I don't know. I don't know what it is, guys. I don't know what I want. That's my problem. I don't know what I want. I know that I want. This is across my life right now. I know that I want not what's going on. I know that. I just don't know where to go from there. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to look around at that. So I'll probably put some sock yarn in there at least, because we have haircuts and stuff that I end up stuck in a car for all the time, and I don't know what I want. It's the worst. Okay, so when I did the Criterion, I love the pattern. It's very beautiful. It's very graphic. I think that also is, this might be something that I want just solid colors for. And I was like, you know what I have? I have this really, really gorgeous combination of Cumbria from the Fibre Company. And this is merino, Maxim, and mohair, I believe. And it's a beautiful base. Oh my God, it's beautiful. And it's in this, I have this gorgeous kind of oatmeal-y gray. It's not quite a cool gray, but it's not really warm either. And then I have this beautiful teal. And I was like, this would be a phenomenal Criterion. I'm a swatch for that. Because in my head, And in my hands, this is a fingering weight yarn. And I want to show it to you so that you can see that I'm not crazy. And if it's not a fingering weight yarn, maybe it's a sport weight yarn, right? So here are my yarns, and I hope that you can see them. And those are my stitches. Like they're not that, there's not that big of a difference, right? Like there just is not. Well, let me tell you something. There's a huge difference. I don't even have any clue. So I had to Google it. I had to look it up because I was pretty sure that this was a fingering weight yarn. I could have sworn this was a fingering weight yarn. But then whenever I swatched it, tell me how it is that I have this fingering weight yarn that has, I'm going to count them for you. Hold on, hold that thought. Don't go nowhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That has 20 stitches. 20 stitches per 4 inches. On a size 3 needle. I mean, I know I'm a loose knitter and all, you guys. Like, look, y'all, I know. But 20 stitches and 4 inches on a size 3? Like, you've got to be out of your mind. There's no way, because I knit this stuff on a size 3 and I got like 28 stitches. What in the world? So I had to look it up. It's a worsted. Somehow, this tiny little string is a worsted weight yarn. So I swatched and I blocked, and it's gorgeous. Oh, it's gorgeous. I love it so much. But I can't use it for a Criterion because that's a fingering weight pattern, and I mean I can convert it. I'm not going to. I'm not going to do that. That's just, I'm sorry. I'm going to be blunt. That's too much work for me. And just because I can do it doesn't mean I should do it. So I was really mad about that. Because I was like, I have it in my head that this would be beautiful. I would love to work with that. That would be a gorgeous sweater. That'd be right up my alley. But it's not. Now, it is worsted, and it is a 20 stitches, but you know what else kind of falls in that wheelhouse is a DK. Now, I very rarely use the right yarn or the right weight of yarn for a project. As a matter of fact, I purchased some yarn from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers for a sweater that I'll talk about here in a minute. And while I was on there, I've been watching Andrea Mowry. Have you ever watched Andrea Mowry? She's so sick. She's so cute. It's like sickening. And she has this Friday thing that she does where she answers questions from viewers, and it's called I'll Knit If I Want To. And she's adorable. She's adorable. And it makes me mad because I have stayed off that pink velvet train. I have stayed off the pink velvet train. I wasn't going to make it. I wasn't interested. It was cute on her. It's not my shape. I'm not going to make. I don't like mohair. But do you know what I bought? You guys, do you know what I bought? I have 3 skeins of Farmer's Daughter Fibers that I will show you at a later date. And I bought the matching color of mohair so that I could make this stupid, not mohair. I use the Syria alpaca, so I can make this stupid pink velvet. But then I got the yarn, and of course on the website, what the color of the yarn is looks lighter than the one that I got. The one I got is an exact representation. Whoa, okay, so whenever you dye on fingering and wool, on a wool base, normally the color takes way different than it does if it's on a mohair or a Syria alpaca. And this one is one of those that's not. It's the perfect translation. It's the exact same color. It's just a different texture. So I'm going to swatch with it and see how I feel about it. And I thought based on pictures on the website that it would be a little bit pinker, a little bit lighter. The color that I'm going to use is kind of a purple. But there is no difference. So I'm going to swatch and see if the texture makes a difference enough to be able to see it, or if I need to get a different color yarn. Anyway, back to this. So I don't ever use the right weight. I very, very rarely knit with a yarn that is called for in a pattern. I just don't. I like to stash dive. But Hohi Locatelli is having the Hohi Fall Cow right now. She does this every year, and every year I say I'm going to participate, and I never do. And she has a sweater called the Radiate, and I know you've seen it. It's the one that she has. I think it's like an oatmeal color, and it's hot pink at the collar, and it has these rays that come down. And I kind of thought that I might like that in this color combination. With this as my contrast. I might like that. Andrew Mowry also has the Illuminate sweater out right now. And that is 2 strands of mohair held with spin cycle, which is a sport. And I won't make it with mohair. You can absolutely bet that that's not going to happen. But what is her name? She's super sweet and very cute, and I can't remember her name. Handle here is making one with Magpie, like in this, I think in the skinny singles maybe. Like she's just using a normal finger, 2 normal fingering weights, or a fingering with spin cycle. I can't remember which one it is. And I have a couple skeins of spin cycle that I don't know what to do with that I think would be really pretty in an Illuminate. I don't know if I'd stripe the body though. Anyway, that doesn't have anything to do with it. Those are just plans. But something that I do have yarn for, that I am ready to get going on the needles, is yarn from Farmer's Daughter Fibers for a Hide and Peak sweater. And you guys will remember that I knit a Hide and Peak for Candace, and this was some of my trade when I knit that for her. I really like Candace's yarn, and it's really, really nice to be able to sample knit for her and to be able to receive the yarn that I want in trade. That's really, really handy. It's taken me a while to find that and to figure out that that's what I like and what I wanted to do with it. So I'm planning on using, this is all on her Recollect base, which is what my last one was on, and it is a DK, quote, sport DK. I think it's a sport weight, her Recollect, which is 100% white and black Rambouillet. And so since it's kind of a grayish tone, the way it takes color is really, really pretty. It's very deep. So my main color is going to be Legend, which is, unless my lighting is horrendous, is black, which is great. I like black. I have discovered I like black. We talked about that last time. My first contrast color is going to be Shake a Day, which is this really pretty like ochre yellow color. And then my next color will be Dumplin'. And then as long as it shows up, my plan is for my third color to be J Rankin. And this color palette is actually based off of a photo of some sunflowers and some astromerias that I will put on the screen so you can see. And this is going to be my sweater. I hope that that's showing nicely because it doesn't look like it is on my end. So anyway, I think that's going to be my sweater. If they don't play super well together, I guess I'll try to find an alternative. Looking at them in the skeins, it looks like they will, but you know how that is. They never knit up the same way. It'll be super low contrast. If for some reason the Hide and Peak does not work out, Andrea Mowry has the throw over cardigan. She made a pullover version of that, and it's just chevrons through the yoke or whatever with 3 colors, and I will use them for that. So that's my next knit. I also got contacted by Jamie Hoffman of Knitosophy. You guys know I knit for her all the time. All of the butterfly sweaters that I have knit in the last 2 years have been from her. And they've all been wonderful. And she has a new cable-y-ish cardigan coming out called the Forsythia. And I will show that to you as I make progress on it. I am waiting on yarn. And then I'm going to get started on that. I'm dealing with a little bit of hand pain, nothing too severe, but between workouts and mountain bikes, I'm putting a lot of stress on my forearms lately, and I just need to find a better way to mitigate some of that. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of I'm kind of trying to chill out, not necessarily on the knitting, but on the marathon knitting that I do. For anybody who is a new viewer, no, never mind you new viewers. If you're a new viewer, this episode is not dedicated to you, and I'm so sorry. But all the rest of y'all know that I can knit an entire man sweater in like a week. Like I can do a full cable sweater in under a week. And that's not good for you. You're not supposed to do that. That's not good. That's an easy way to get carpal tunnel. Y'all don't do what I do. Okay, listen, do as I say, not as I do. Listen to my advice. Let me save you from it. My hands hurt. And I'm trying not to knit because I don't want to exacerbate that. But then again, you know, I can't stand to not knit because then who am I and what am I doing, right? So I picked up this beast, which is definitely a beast. Okay, so this is doubled over and this is my span for my third crochet granny stripe crochet blanket. It's going to be absolutely massive. And I did that because I am averaging one a year right now. My first one was really small, and then my second one was a little bigger. It's kind of the perfect size, and I kind of should have just stuck with that. But I was like, you know, I can get to the end and back with a color on the size that I knit last time, which is maybe about here. That's probably the size of my last one. And I can get to the end of the row and back with 20 grams, maybe, no, not even 20. Tens, maybe? I don't even remember. Okay, anyway, my point is that I got tired of having all of the yarn up the side. I don't like to weave in ends. I don't want to do that. So then I started doing magic knots, which was great. But again, when they're all on the side, I don't know. That just seems like such a place where you grab and you pull and you're dragging it off sofas and, you know, your pets get, the edges are always the part that are, in my house at least, beaten up the worst. I didn't want to have all those knots on the sides. And to be honest, I don't like getting all the way to the end. Like, I just don't. Both of my last ones have been relatively planned and have just been one color all the way through and all the way back. And that's nice. Those are fine. I'm very, very glad I did that with my first ones. But I wanted this one to be slightly more random. So if you look at this one, you'll see that I have some, like this color here, like this red right here, or right here. This is a self-striping. You can see how it's changing colors right there. So I have that, you know, and this goes from like a blue to a burgundy into like an oatmeal. And then over here, it's kind of a pinky, and then I ran out of it. And that's fine. And then I have this berry pink right here that's run all the way through this part, and it keeps going, and then I ran out of it. And so then I picked up with a different color. So kind of depending on what side of the blanket you're gonna get during the movie is gonna determine what color my blanket is. And I'm having a lot of fun with that. It's a little bit more random, and I'm just trying to work through some of these minis. The problem is that the minis that I have in these colors and in this kind of tone, I'm running out of those because I used a lot of them in my last blanket too. So advents this year are going to be really helpful for restocking my minis. And I have an entire advent calendar here that I never opened from last year because I was going to have it for my birthday, and I just kind of hit the January slump this last year. And then I have an advent calendar right here, and that's going to be a shifty sweater someday. Maybe. I don't know. I really like it. I really want to do that. I just haven't gotten around to it. I think that for some of my ideas, like the shifty sweater, especially out of minis, you know, there's going to be a little bit of math involved, and there's a lot of creativity involved in that. There's a lot of just letting go and letting the colors be what they will be. And understanding that your sleeves are not going to match each other, and they're not going to match the body, and maybe they'll match each other, but they are not going to match the body, and like that's okay. And so I've gone really hard back and forth on this shifty idea of like, do I want one base color and then just to have the shifts through it, or, you know, I'm a very loose knitter, you know, is a mosaic style of color work, is that going to work for me, you know? And I've just basically talked myself out of it. It's been a very dry year for me, really creatively. And even in making, I came back 2 weeks ago, and I probably took all of that time off. So was that almost 6 months? So I'm easing back into it, you know, but now I'm kind of in that spoiled for choice place where I want to make all of the things, but I don't really want to make all of the things because I haven't started making anything. So yeah, anyway, so that's my spiel today. I don't have much else to talk to you about, really. Like I said, I cashed in on some trade from Farmer's Daughter, and I was able to get some yarn that I've had my eye on for a little while. I heard she finally had the colorways I wanted in stock. I went to, I purchased a vehicle at the beginning of the summer from out of state because my state didn't have it and I wasn't willing to pay $20,000 extra just to get it from down the road. And so I went to pick it up in Milwaukee and just drove it home and was able to do so safely, and that was really fantastic after I got my vaccine. And I haven't been able to pay taxes on it because I didn't buy it in the state of Texas. So since I didn't live in Wisconsin, they were like, well, we're not going to charge you taxes, just take it home. I kind of wish they would have charged me at least Wisconsin taxes, because if there had been a tax difference between Wisconsin and Texas, I could have just paid for it in Texas, but they didn't want to deal with it, and I respect that. When I looked at the vehicle, it took them, I found the vehicle online, and when I contacted them about the vehicle, it took them another 4 weeks to be able to sell it to me because they were waiting for the title from the person who had traded it in. So because of COVID, everything was just super, super slow, and they didn't want me to get bogged down in Wisconsin, tax rules for a state that I didn't even live in. And I respect that. That's fine. But that also means that I had to pay all of my vehicle taxes out of pocket. It's a lot of money. And I went to go do that today, and you guys, it was substantially higher than I was expecting. Like, I was expecting it to be a really pretty chunk of change, but it was still a good $400 higher than I was expecting it to be. And unfortunately, I was semi-anxious about it. I've been trying to do this for months, okay? So I went to go register the truck or whatever, and found out I had to do a title transfer, which I didn't understand because I did understand. But Texas is not going to get the title. I don't get the title. Texas doesn't get the title. It goes to the lien holder. Texas doesn't do it that way. And from what I understand, neither does Wisconsin. But it's now a Texas title because it's a Texas registered vehicle. I totally get that. It's fine. But what that means is I had to wait for the dealership to submit the title to Wisconsin. I had to wait for Wisconsin to get it and then send it to Toyota. I had to wait for Toyota to process it to send it to Texas. And then I had to wait for Texas to separate it out to send it to my tax office. And all of that finally happened. It finally happened. They finally called me and I got in today. And I should have known from the get-go. Because the moment that I walked up, so Texas, Harris County is in the red zone again. So that means that you have to have an appointment for lottie-dottie anything. It doesn't matter if you're getting a 30-day permit. It doesn't matter if you're dropping off letters. It doesn't matter what you're doing at the tax office. You have to have an appointment. There is an officer who works in the tax office, and he is very, very wonderful. He's always there. He's a staple part of the building. It's great. And there's a Tomball police officer there, and he's the one running the door. You have an appointment, which is fine. But I wasn't on the list because somebody had basically put a blue sticky note on top of the appointments list with my name and my time on it, and that was all the reference there was to my appointment. And bless his heart, thankfully, he remembered seeing that sticky note. So after he talked to me, and I was like, I should be on the list, and he was like, oh, did you make it on the thing? And well, maybe it was like this, honey. And I looked at him, I was like, no. A representative from this tax office called me on Thursday and said, we have your title. We cannot get you in because of the closures. You're going to have to come in on Monday of next week. Is that okay? So I said, I know you have it here. I just need to pay the taxes. And he's like, okay. He believed me. He's like, okay. But the lady at the door was like, whatever. She don't have an appointment. Go away. So fortunately for me, the officer went and was kind of scrounging around. I was like, I thought I saw a sticker. Let me go look, and he was very kind, and he found my little sticky note that allowed me access in. Oh my God. My heart seized up. I'm already annoyed. I haven't been able to drive this truck for 2 weeks. I don't know if I mentioned that. So my last temp tag expired on the 29th of August, and I was not able to get an appointment to get a new one until the 17th of September, which would have been Friday. But I got a call Wednesday saying that they had my title up at a different tax office, which is way closer to my house. I was going to have to drive to the other side of Houston for the Friday appointment. And the one up the street for me was able to get me in on Monday. So I just blew off that appointment. I was like, oh, it's 2 more days. I'll just wait, So I haven't been able to drive it for 3 weeks. because I don't have tags and it's not legal. It's just in the garage. I'm sorry. I had a panic moment that maybe I forgot to hit record earlier. I don't know. Don't ask. Okay, it's been a day. So then I go in and this lady is like looking at my paperwork and, you know, my husband's name is on the truck and, oh, it doesn't have the junior on it. Like, I'm so stupid. Anyways, she finally gets me done and she gets me to go pay and my card declined. I had to call my bank. They were like, well, it's not, you know, we're really sorry. Like something, I don't know. There's something about their system that triggers it because of the amount or whatnot. Not the bank system, something that the tax office uses specifically. And she wasn't able to tell me exactly what it is because she says it's something about their payment system. I don't know how she described it. Okay, anyway, it wasn't my fault and it wasn't my card. It had nothing to do with me. My bank was cool with it. But do you know, because I paid with a credit card, it was like a $70 fee. You guys, stuff is so expensive right now and so ridiculous because of COVID. So anyway, like my heart kind of seized up about like, am I going to be able to make this payment? And then I went ahead and I made the payment and I was getting in the truck and I got in the truck and it was my husband's lunch break and I was telling him about what was going on and he was like, that seems really high, don't you think? Like, didn't you do the math and wasn't it like $400 cheaper than that? And I was like, yeah, you know it was. But it didn't even occur to me. My anxiety was so high and I was so freaked out that I wasn't going to be able to do this. And I just wanted to pay these taxes and go home. So now I have to call the office or do some research online to find out why it's so much more expensive than I thought it was going to be. And I feel dumb because I should have just asked her while I was there. COVID has taught me one thing, and it is that I've known I have anxiety. I'm aware of that. That's not news. But I've always really been able to manage it. I've never had like a problem like this where I just froze up and was like, whatever, like just let me out and like everything is blocked out except let me leave. That's a very new thing for me. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. This sucks. So now I gotta get myself together so that I can go back or call somebody at least, you know, and find out what the heck is going on. So I'm sure I'll get it resolved. It's not a big deal. It was just really aggravating today. Excuse me. I came home and we did school. My son blitzed through it, which was really fantastic because I thought for sure we'd be doing school until like 6 o'clock tonight. But no, it's been a good day. It's been fine. So that is all done. My truck is legal and it has license. I got to walk out with license plates. That's never happened to me. Even when I've gone to get it registered or like a new vehicle or a purchased vehicle or whatever, it's always, oh, we'll mail the plates to you or we'll let you know when they're in. I have never been able to walk out of an office with license plates. Not even in Idaho. Oh, I didn't register in Idaho. I didn't register in Idaho because my car didn't need to be, my registration didn't need to be renewed, and then whenever it did, we came home. So yeah, I've never gotten plates handed to me and just been told to go home. So that was nice. All right, so what about y'all? I would love it if you would tell me in the comments below, or you know, some of y'all chat with me through Instagram, which I love. You know, let me know, how's your week going and what's going on this week? How did last week go? Have you run into anything like me where it just, I don't know, can it please end? Anyway, I hope you guys have a really great week and that everything runs smoothly for you if you have to go to the tax office or talk to the state. And that you're ready. Tomorrow is the first day of fall. I'm so excited. The next day is the autumn equinox. I'm even more excited. And we are on the downhill slide to cooler weather. Or if you're in the southern hemisphere, you guys are rocking it into being done with the cold and being able to put tank tops and your swimsuits. And that is awesome too. So if that is I hope that you are ready and excited for whatever transition you happen to be living in at the moment. Yeah, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.